White Rocket Entertainment podcast number 954. Cue the theme music. It's a new year, and we're getting a new football roster. The AU Wishbone is next. From just slightly warmer Southern Illinois, and I'm not sure how it is over in Eastern Virginia. I always need a weather report from you at the beginning of every show, John. It's the AU Wishbone Auburn Sports and Weather podcast, apparently. I am your host, Van Allen Plexico, joined as always by my co-host.
I'm John Ringer, and it's a little chilly in Virginia, but warming up.
Good. Yeah. Well, we're into January now, which is a cold month, but hopefully moving towards warmer days and hopefully moving towards having an Auburn football roster that we can all be excited about again. We've had a lot of detritus over the side of the boat, but I think also we're lining up. I think this image said it best. There was one of these AI images of the coach Golesh sitting there with just this giant table full of stacks of cash. And I'm like, if for no other reason than because so many of our high paid players are leaving, we do have stacks of cash to pay out to somebody. The trick is to and then and reel them in, fight them, bring them in, baby. So we have several that we'll talk about tonight and a few maybe on the radar that we want to keep an eye on. But before we do all that, John, you know what we have to do. It's the Auburn Fun Meter, our weekly look at how much fun it is to be an Auburn fan right now. Now, we have to admit, I think it was a week ago, we were down pretty low. Not a lot of good things happening, quite a few unpleasant things happening. But where are you feeling right now?
All right, here you better. Are you watch this, okay? Glad you're all sitting down for this.
Boris is sitting down too.
Transfer portal opens. A lot of Auburn players leave, but we've already dealt with that. A lot of some new players coming in and signing. On the downside, we lost a basketball game to a rival. That was tough. On the positive side, Alabama and Georgia both lost in the playoff, and Alabama got annihilated by one of the second losingest program in the history of college football.
So good.
So good. I'm going to say, netting it all out, I'm like a 5.5.
Yeah, I think 5.5 is good just in terms of getting out of that depth of the hole of not being happy, but it still leaves room for good things to be happening. Like we've pulled in a few players we're going to talk about, but none of them really, you're not writing home saying, hey, guess what yet. But
your fishing analogy, there's no big catches yet. There's
big catch.
We're bringing in some fish.
A few little ones, little medium-sized ones, yeah. But in a good trend, since there are a few of them come from a certain school that we'll talk about too. So, by the way, I'm wearing my Rose Bowl 2014. It's too cool of a shirt to let a little thing like losing on the last second to Florida State keep me from wearing it. So I'm proud that we got there, and I'm not ashamed to show it off. Right, pretty cool. So, all right,
especially when the Rose Bowl was so fun.
Yes, it was. Oh, that's true. It's a good time to be thinking about the Rose Bowl. Remember the Rose Bowl, they'll lose then. All right. Who is staying on the Plains?
So, especially at the end of last week, I should have counted this among the positive news, is that a bunch of talented young players said they were staying at Auburn and not entering the transfer portal. And I will briefly run down the list. Blake Woodby, cornerback, Jared Smith, defensive end, Malik Autry, defensive tackle, big-time 5-star signee last year. Ryan G., tight end, Jordan Crawford, defensive tackle, New Boy Fagans, safety, Eric Winters, safety, Bryce Kane, wide receiver, Sam Turner, wide receiver, Kai Ellis, offensive lineman, Elijah Menendez, linebacker, DeMarcus Riddick, linebacker. He was hurt all last year. I think he comes back healthy. He's going to be good. And then Blake Diaz, linebacker. So I think between those 3 linebackers and the kids we just signed out of high school, we're fine at linebacker. We're going to be okay. And those
feel
are
pretty good about
young, talented players. And I really like, keeping a lot of these talented young defenders. Elijah Menendez was making a lot of plays in the second half of the season. Fagans and Witters are good young safeties. And, Autry, Jared Smith, feel pretty good about those. Woodby played some at cornerback. So I feel really good about this group today.
Yeah. So it's maybe not as many as we would like. And it certainly it shows positions that we have pretty gaping need for. I did want to ask you this, and I don't know if you added anything about you have not. Well, first, before we get into this, I want to ask you this. The latest rumor circulating, I know you love rumors, is that Deuce Knight is considering staying after all. Have you heard this?
Yeah, I saw that, but I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Well, as we've said many times, though, he didn't leave. He just announced that he would be entertaining offers, is basically
and he's in the portal entertaining offers, and I think he's going to sign with Ole Miss.
Really?
Yeah.
He's from Mississippi, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see. I sure would like to keep him.
Sure.
I don't want to go up against him in a couple of years when we play Ole Miss again.
You mean
actually play Ole Miss the next 2 years? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. So, I wanted to ask you about running backs. It looks like Darrell Robinson, who played a total of about like 1.5 games for us, is going to go. And I mean, I have no reason to feel any which way about that because he never really got to play.
He was hurt, and I hope he regains his full health and goes on and does well somewhere else.
Yeah, he's been around for a number. I mean, I'm surprised can't have many years left, can he? On his.
Well, I'm sure this year didn't count. I'm sure it counted as a red injury year. So
it sure didn't count for us. I don't know why it would count for him. All right, so. Our players, we had talked about, we have a theme song for our players that are entering the portal.
There will come a payday, hallelujah, what a payday. There will come a payday someday, there will come a payday, hallelujah, what a payday. There will come a payday someday.
Yoo-hoo! All right, so looking for a payday. We've talked about our quarterbacks, and it looks like Jackson Arnold has gone to UNLV.
Mm-hmm.
And we just talked about Deuce. And then the thing I was going to ask you about running backs, do we know anything yet? Have we heard anything about our other running backs, particularly Alvin Henderson?
Nope.
So it sounds like they're okay unless they're going to – how long does it stay open? How long does this window stay open? We all know it opened 3 days ago, and there hasn't been a whole lot of action.
I'm Googling this while on the air. It's good.
Well, the other portal theme that I added was when we have a player that goes through the portal in a let me put it this way. When we get a good portal coming in, and when we have a player that we don't want to lose going out, there you go.
The portal is open until January 16th, which is a week from Friday.
Okay, so 11 more days. Woo!
Yeah.
11 more days to get your deals done.
Well, no, to enter.
Oh, okay.
After that, you can't enter, and there's no portal after the spring. So if anybody that hasn't entered the portal by the 16th is on Auburn's roster for a year.
Right. Except there's the players on the national championship playoff team. I think they get a few extra days.
They get a little extra day. And if somebody else's coach gets fired or hired away, they get a new window. But that's it.
Yeah, there are exceptions. Okay. Who do we have that we've added? Who have we done the? No. All right. Who have we added, John?
We signed a South Florida quarterback.
Yes. Oh, wait a minute. You're not going to fool me that easy, buddy.
Lackland Hewitt, which sounds like an audit firm, honestly. Lackland Hewitt came in and took a look at the books and had some concerns about your exposure here.
Oh, my God. That is exactly. Blame
yourself.
That's exactly what.
But he was I think like a freshman quarterback who was the backup for USF this year, and this coaching staff obviously likes him and thinks he can come in and help run. So
I think he was on the cast of Outlander last season. Jamie McFaraday was played by Lachlan Hewitt. Listen here, Satanach. We're going against the English to get us off our land. It's you and me and Lachlan Hewitt together to drive off the bloody English. Sorry. Carry on.
Lachlan Hewitt was 7 for 12 for 90 yards in 2 games last year for South Florida.
That's literally better than any quarterback we had like the last 3 years, other than like Deuce in that one game against Mercer.
There you go. Other than that, we signed a whole bunch of other players from South Florida, none of whom are Byrum Brown, which we'll talk about in a minute. We signed Gavin Jenkins, who's a cornerback. We signed Corey Pettigrew, who's a wide receiver. We signed Christian Neptune, who's a wide receiver.
I want his cousin, Pagan Poseidon. We got Christian Neptune. I want Pagan Poseidon on the other side of the field.
Jonathan Eccles is a tight end. He's a really good player. This guy was a 4-star tight end at high school that could have gone to Tennessee or a bunch of other places or Auburn. Nakai Davenport's a running back. There's their leading rusher other than Brown this year, and he was not the original starter at running back. He inherited the role at midseason. He's got a couple of years left. He averaged 6 yards a carry. Happy about that one.
I'll take that.
And then Jeremiah Kroger is another young wide receiver, and Fred Gaskins is a safety who was one of the better defenders on that defense. So you put Gaskins, kind of a veteran safety with Fagans and Winters. I feel pretty good about that.
Well, I was going to say, so how do you feel about the quality of these South Florida guys?
Well, I mean, Golesh coached at Tennessee. He knows what it takes to play in the SEC, and he's not going to bring players to Auburn that are not going to help him win in the SEC. Right. The other side is a lot of the guys they brought in are younger guys, first or second year guys that have several years of eligibility left. And I think especially when you talk about the wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends, and a quarterback, those guys all know the offense right now. Today, we didn't even start at spring practice, and we now have 6 or 7 players that know the offense already. And so they can be helping to teach the rest of the players the offense as the coaches are teaching it too. So I think that's really going to help the learning curve. But it's also, they know what these coaches want and expect, and they can model that behavior and help the team move in that direction. So I think those are all good things. I mean, they wouldn't have brought them if they didn't think they could help. And South Florida was a good team. I mean, they were not a bad team. Again, they beat the University of Florida this year with these players. So,
and I'm going to bet they're not going to take a huge chunk out of the salary cap.
No, I mean, none of these guys are stars. None of these guys are. There's one other South Florida receiver out there who we have not signed, is in the portal, Singleton, and he's the leading receiver on that team, Keyshawn Singleton. But, Koger was the second leading receiver. He had like 600 yards. Neptune had like 330 yards. So the other guys are players. And Koger was like a big time game breaking player for him, 15 yards a catch and 8 touchdowns. So, that's the kind of player that we could use no matter what.
Clip that. I'm like waiting for you to get to a stopping point so I can say clip that. Dang. I hope we get the whole thing in there because that was a good little bit, I think. I want that up on YouTube. All right. We have to start thinking about these things now that it does that. Oh, great. That's good. That's all good stuff. That's good stuff. So, all right. Also, I think Byrum Brown's visit is like just wrapped up within the hour, right? Just in the last little while. He's finishing up his trip to Auburn, and we'll see how that goes.
There were also, besides the South Florida players and Byrum Brown included, there were a lot of other players on Auburn's campus the last 36 hours, including a large number of offensive and defensive linemen of high quality. And so I think we got a couple of running backs too. So I think we'll definitely be keeping our eye out for those other players, especially the, offensive and defensive linemen, to see if any of them sign on the dotted line and we reel them in the next few days.
Absolutely. So I did see that Jarris McIntyre, our former receiver, and I believe his dad, Cedric McIntyre, played for us back in the early days, maybe like the 70s, early 80s or something. And Jarris played, I want to say, on the early 2000s teams.
Yeah.
And my memory of him is he was never like one of our leading receivers, but he was always just kind of there, like a good solid piece.
Yeah.
But I think what happened, remember in 2003, we were predicted by some to be national champions that year after the way we ended 2002. And we came out and laid an egg against USC and didn't score a touchdown. And then we went to Atlanta and played Georgia Tech and didn't score a touchdown. So we were into game 3 of the 2003 season without scoring an offensive touchdown against Vanderbilt in Nashville, I think. And Jarris McIntyre caught a ball and went like 60, 70 yards down the sideline for a touchdown. And so he scored Auburn's first offensive touchdown for the 2003 team, which was a kind of a very disappointing team based on expectations, but it laid the foundations for 2004, which we all know. So he's going to be in kind of like an off-field role.
Yeah, I think doing some high school stuff, but also doing like, alumni player relations. I think that's a big thing for any university, is connecting with your former players, and I think that's been something they've complained about at Auburn in the past. I think Jarris will fill in that role and do a good job, I think.
Good. Well, that's right. Great. All right. Let's see. So do we have anything else football related going on right now?
No, it's just portal, more guys coming later this week, more visits scheduled, and Auburn's trying to decide what they need, how they need it. I think, as you said, I think we're good at running back right now. If nobody else leaves, I think we're fine with the one player we signed. And if we keep the guys we got, I don't think we need anybody at linebacker after what we just discussed. But we're definitely going to need some offensive and defensive linemen.
That's for sure.
And we'd certainly need some kind of quarterback one way or the other. So
I'll take a few receivers too still.
Amen.
Yeah. Well, all right. So that's the football news. In basketball, the fellas went over to Athens on Saturday, and that was just quite a game. It was a very back and forth. I think the largest lead in the in regulation was Georgia by 9, and then Auburn came back and tied it, and then they kept kind of going back and forth, and it was very frustrating that Auburn would get within like 1 and then just get stuck. Just like half the game, we were 1 point behind Georgia, but we could not score.
Yeah,
but we did do a lot of. I felt like our rebounding was pretty good in that game.
Yes,
and our lack of an inside guy other than Murph did not seem as bad. It just seemed like our defense overall had some lapses.
Yeah, Georgia's not the kind of team that slows you down and beats you up inside, so that weakness didn't hurt us against them the way it would against other teams. So,
it looked to me, and I'm still not the greatest at breaking down game film while it's happening, but compared to some, it looked to me like we had Keyshawn Hall out there because of his offensive and rebounding prowess. But he, in the beginning, first 10 minutes of the game, he felt like a liability on defense. Guys were just like going around him and dunking and scoring, and he was not doing a whole lot to slow him down. And he came out for a long section in the middle of the game.
And, he also got a couple of fouls too. I think the referees called a bunch of quick fouls at the beginning of this game, and then we backed off a little bit on defense, and that contributed to the problems you're talking about. But also, we just played really poorly on man-to-man defense in this game. There were, as you just described, it was Hall, but it was a lot of other guys too. There were a lot of Georgia players going by people, and Auburn players kind of doing the Olay and reaching for the ball and stuff instead of moving their feet. And we did not defend without fouling. We had two guys foul out in this game when we needed them, and then we made a lot of defensive mistakes. I think at his press conference today, Steven said we made like 103 defensive mistakes in this game, individual defensive errors, basically. And he says we made 103 defensive errors, and we were up 3 with the ball in overtime. So we don't have to correct 70 of them. We only need to correct about 10 or 15, and it's a completely different ball game. So
let's talk about that real quick. So this was just incredible. And I was telling my family, I'm like, this is why you never give up, because these things happen more often than you believe. Right. And that is, we were down 4, excuse me, with less than 10 seconds to go. And in fact, I think we were down 4 with less than a second to go.
Keyshawn Hall shoots a 3-pointer, misses, but is fouled.
Yeah. If he had made it, but so he misses the 3rd free throw when we're down 2. He makes the first 2 to bring us within 2. He misses the 3rd one intentionally off the side. Overton gets it and throws up a miracle prayer shot as he's falling down from the side that goes through and ties the game and sends us to overtime. And then in overtime, we do take the lead for a while, and then we start fouling out. I think
Tahad and Jovic both fouled out in overtime.
One fouled out right at the end of regulation. I think it was Tahad, and then Jovic fouled out like the first second of overtime. And I mean, we have an 8-man rotation right now, basically. So losing 2 guys is just devastating. You can barely substitute. And then once that happened, it was just not good. So Tahad did not start this game for a disciplinary action. I got the sense it wasn't it's more like being late for meetings type of thing. They were talking about he needed to make a better example, and they said him being late. So,
and I think Steven talked about it and said, like, after the Purdue game, we said we all needed to hold ourselves accountable and do better, and that he was going to hold the players accountable. And so he asked Tahad not to put Steven, in this situation again.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, when you've been told don't put the coach in this situation, and then you do, something's going to happen to you. You're going to pay the price. And I think that's what happened to Tahad. And I got to be honest. I mean, I started to say Tahad is struggling, but I mean, like, he still scored 25, 30 points a game. So imagine what he would be scoring if he was actually not struggling to score, because he can find ways to score. He just, he's just missing a lot of shots.
He is, but he's, I think he's doing better than people who only watch some of the games or casual games, might think, Tahad, what is that guy doing? But I think he's doing fine, right? I mean, here's Tahad's averages for the season. Okay. 15 points, 3 rebounds. He's shooting 30% from 3, which is not great, right?
That's one of the main things. Yes.
And he's got a good assist to turnover ratio. So he's got 12 blocks. He's tied for the lead in blocks.
Yeah, Tahad Pettiford is tied for the lead in the team. Just crazy.
I do think his defense isn't great, but it has gotten better than it was last year. He was a liability at times last year.
Yeah. Speaking of missing, we missed 10 free throws in, as you said, a game that went to overtime. We lost by 4. Make just one of those free throws. Well, not the one Keyshawn Hall missed on purpose, but any of the other ones.
And Keyshawn Hall missed 2 or 3 other ones in this game, which is very unlike him. I was shocked when he missed a couple of free throws in this game. And again, we just need one, and we're fine. But
Murph actually made like 3 in a row, and I was like, "Well, that's a good sign." And then everybody else misses. So what are you going to do? And by the way, I saw on an Auburn email group, somebody asked, when was the last time Auburn had a good free throw shooting team? And they posted our numbers going all the way back to 2013. And it was like Bruce's first or second team was very good at shooting free throws. And that was the last time we had one that wasn't just average or worse on the national scale. For some reason, they never shoot well. We were 8 for 30 from 3-point range. I mean, and how many of those were Tahad? I don't know, but
we had some wide open ones. This game that we missed. That was frustrating.
But I do like that Overton seems like he's establishing himself as a serious scoring threat.
He's more aggressive and he's more confident, I think, and it's helping. It's making a difference.
Yeah, we need somebody like that along with the other guys that are actually shooting. Along with Keyshawn and Tahad, we need at least one more guy that can shoot. And, Jovic impresses me. He seems like he's willing to fight and scrap and crawl around on the ground, and he's scrappy. He wants to get the rebounds. He likes to he's like the garbage man, he likes to get under the hoop and collect the rebound and try to put it back in and everything. He's one of those guys that gets his points any which way he can. He's not looking to make the splashy big shot or the big dunk. He's down there doing the dirty work. He's almost like a Dennis Rodman type, down there crawling around doing the dirty work. And you need a guy like that. And I'm glad he's impressing me. Even if he's not the greatest at this or that or the other, he seems like his hustle is making up for a lot.
And he was a real – I wasn't sure after the first 3 games he was going to keep playing, but he's really gotten better. And this was an SEC team. He was fine. He should have been on that floor. He got 10 rebounds and 10 points. If he can keep doing that, we're fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Oh, I wanted to note Murph got a haircut to start the new year in the SEC schedule, and I lost him on the court. He was so easy to find. I mean, he's tall, but he's not. He's the biggest guy, but he's not like super taller than everybody else. He doesn't stand out the way that like Dylan did or Broom did, Janai did. And so without his big hairdo, I have a hard time finding him. He looks nice. He cleaned up, but I had a hard time finding him. So, oh well. And then I love that Steven got mad about the defense and had that quote. He's like, I've told him, he said, I can't go out there and play for you. You got to do it. And I'm just imagining Steven running out there and like trying to guard somebody would be hilarious. But I know what he means. So, all right. So upcoming, we have Texas A&M in Neville, 9:00 Eastern. Oh, you love these kind of games, John. 9:00 Eastern.
Tuesday night, 9:00 Eastern, 8 Central.
Now,
and this is not your brother's Texas A&M team. Our favorite coach has departed.
Oh, yeah.
And they hired a new coach.
Go?
I don't remember.
Where did he go? He came from one of these
Virginia Tech. He came from Virginia Tech.
I thought he was at Marquette.
Before he came to Virginia Tech, he was at Marquette.
Okay. So he travels every 4 or 5 years. He packs up and leaves every 3, 4, 5 years. Now he's gone somewhere else. But
so the current Texas A&M coach, the new Texas A&M coach, is this guy Bucky who was at Samford, they play unlike the last 5 years of Texas A&M basketball, where they played slow and the most painful to watch team in the SEC. This team is a fun up and down team, so it's going to be a lot like the Georgia game. This team wants to get out and run and play a high-scoring, high-speed game. So we're going that same thing. Here's the difference. This is going to be at home.
Yeah. So hopefully we can, because we've kind of struggled with A&M the last few years.
Yep. But those are those weird teams that, they were kind of our nemesis or whatever, that kind of weird.
I think they knocked us out of the SEC tournament like 2 years in a row or something crazy. So, by the way, I apologize for making all this awful noise. I may not make it through the podcast tonight. My lungs are giving me all kind of issues right now, but we'll see if we can get through it pretty quickly. So A&M, they are not highly regarded this year, right? They're kind of in transition, so we have a good shot at them.
They're definitely beatable. They're not terrible. I've looked on KenPom, they're 47th in the country. They're 11-3, but their offense and defense are both in the 50s in the country. So I think they're a solid team, but not anything special. So I think they're good, but they're not great. And I think we got them at home. You got to feel pretty good about that.
And then we turn around on Saturday at 6 Eastern, 5 Central. We have Arkansas in Neville, which will be fun. They're like the top team rated right now in the SEC.
They're good. This is going to be fun. That's going to be a big-time game.
And then one other note, the following Tuesday, January 12, which will be the second day of classes for me again, the new spring semester, and my birthday, and we play at Missouri. Every year it seems like we play Missouri in Columbia right around my birthday, and it's never on a Saturday. Oh no, it's never. The schedule comes out and I'm like, well, let me see where the Missouri game is. I'm sure it's on Tuesday. Yep, it's on Tuesday every dang year. But you know what's different this year? It's at 6 o'clock instead of 8 or 9. So I'm seriously thinking about running over there and seeing it as like a little private party for myself.
I think that's a fun idea.
I'm thinking about it. It's about 2.5 hours from here. So the game, get over there. Game is over by like 8:30. Get back here at a decent hour, 11:30. Yeah, I could do that. I could pull that off. All right. You have not completed your airing of the grievances, my friend. And so you had a few more you want to throw out there. And so
please clap.
Let's have you air some more grievances. I'm sorry I don't have a
I just want to say I talked to several people over the course of the last week who very much enjoyed that segment.
Good.
And we're definitely doing that again, but not like till a year from now. So
yeah, got to keep it fresh.
That's it. But that's every year at the end of the year, we'll pull out the grievances. So I forgot a couple that I wished I had said. And one is, and this is me like, old man shaking fist at cloud or whatever, but college football is too soft with the roughing the quarterback penalties. Okay. Player safety is important. I don't want anybody to get hurt, but quarterbacks in college football are dangerous runners. And we get these roughing the quarterback penalties where the quarterback throws the ball and the defender like touches them and it's a 15-yard penalty. And it is ridiculous. I mean, if all the time the quarterback fakes that throw and then runs, so the defender has to be ready for him to do that. The idea that you can't touch them at all, and if you even like wave your hand at them after they throw the ball, it's a penalty, is ridiculous. And I don't want anybody to get hurt. I don't want quarterbacks to take cheap shots and all that. You can't, once he throws the ball, you can't take 5 steps and a flying leap at them, but it's going a little too far the other direction. So
let me say that the thing like that always bothers me is when the quarterback runs toward the sideline and they get right to the edge and then the defense has to hold up and not hit them or they'll get a 15-yard and then the quarterback will keep going.
That's they abuse that rule so bad. Yep. They need to talk to the referees about this. It happens at every single game. The quarterback kind of dances down the sideline and they're like, "You're not going to hit me. You're not going to hit me." And then you can't do because if you do, penalty. Oh, wait, it out of bounds and roughing the quarterback and all that. But meanwhile, you just have to get in front of him and stand on the sideline. Like, go for it, man. That's the only way.
Clip that. That was a good one. You had something else though.
Yeah, my other thing is just if if you're an Auburn fan who spent any time at all and energy at all over the last several weeks fussing about the exodus of talented players, then you really need to be more angry at Hugh Freeze, because he's the person who had those players. He had them here, signed and playing with Auburn the last 2 years. And what did we accomplish with them?
Not much.
Diddly squat. So it's, they're leaving and we don't get to enjoy them in the future. Like, I blame Hugh Freeze for A, not using their talents better and not deploying them better, and B, not achieving more with them.
Yeah. Right. No, I mean, the debate always comes down to, well, would another coach, if it was the same players, have done better?
Yes.
But I mean, and that's for sure, but it kind of is what it is now. And it's just how it is.
But I've seen people be like, the new coaching staff deserves the blame for these players leaving.
That's insane. Yes, I know. I've seen multiple Auburn people on social media, allegedly Auburn people, but let's be honest, with this kind of opinion, they might as well be Alabama people. Yeah, blaming Golesh and like, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's an amateur and this and that. I'm like, he just got there 5 minutes ago, and these people wanted their $80 bajillion, and he's like, well, no, we're going to give you a realistic amount of money.
Well, and remember what I said. Why did nobody leave last year? Because we overpaid them all to stay. Yeah. We basically bribed them to stay.
Yeah.
Paid above market value. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's see how many that have entered the portal do come back. I don't want to shame them. I want them to be welcomed back with open arms in most cases. But I do want to see. I want to see how many of them get a cold slap of reality in the face when they go out and try to find. Now, I mean, some of them clearly will. Obviously, Cam Coleman is going to get at least as much from somebody else, and that's fine. I understand. It's not fine, but I understand it. But some of these guys that are like, yeah, I'm going to go get the riches. I'm going to find a school that'll pay me even more than Hugh Freeze did. Are you really? Are you really going to find a school that's going to pay you more than Hugh Freeze did? Because I don't know that that's true. I don't know that it's true. All right. Any others?
Nope. I just needed to get that off my chest. I appreciate it.
All right. That's cool. We have a bowl pick'em contest underway. There's only, I guess, 3 games left. The semifinals and the final.
Yes.
And last I checked, you were right in the mix, my friend. You were right up there at the top.
You are correct. We have 7 players tied for first place, including yours truly.
Yes.
So it's myself, Tony Perry, Patrick Williams, G Money, Josh Benefield, Christopher Thrash, and Eric Morgan. Not Boris the Tiger, although he's not far behind. So, some great team names. We appreciate all of them, and we appreciate the fans participating. One has a team name predicted by Quesadilla. Ann Pridgeon's team name is Oklahoma Cheats.
Yes.
I like that a lot.
Boris is talking to the coaching staff right now to get some hints before the final games.
Ryan McWilliams' team name is Clever Name Goes Here. So,
all right. So how far back?
7 teams tied with. I'm sorry, those teams were tied at 26 and 17 with those 3 games to go. We got a bunch of other teams, 1 game back at 18, and others at 19. Van is at 18, 1 game back of the leaders. So with 3 games left.
Yeah, I took a couple of flyers on, I kept thinking if everybody picks the favorite, we're all going to tie for last as well as first. But so I took a couple of gambles, like, I picked against teams that had just lost their coaches, but a lot of those teams won, including Ole Miss, obviously. So, I feel like it kind of was a wash, right? You hit one of those that's an underdog, but then you miss one that's an underdog, and it ends up you might as well just pick the favorites because your numbers will be the same. So, oh well. Let's see if I can get through this part of the show. This is always interesting, especially when my lungs are doing weird things tonight. We got to thank the patrons really quickly. The AU Wishbone podcast is presented to you ad-free, commercial-free, Thanks to all of our great patrons via patreon.com. Visit www.auwishbone.com and click on the big orange button to become a patron. Now, what that means is you don't have ads on this show, unlike virtually every other video and podcast out there. We are like the only one left that does not have commercials, and we do that intentionally as one of the benefits for being a patron. Go to www.auwishbone.com, click on the big orange button, become a patron. Now, here are the fine folks currently doing that. First up, as always, is our segment sponsor, Samuel Salvatore, who is he presents worst coaches in the world. We'll get to that in just a moment. Also, we have to thank Logan Chilton, who always reminds us, what did we have to do? What did we have to sacrifice to be an Auburn fan?
So what do I sacrifice? Everything.
So true. Ben Spooner.
Blasphemy.
Carl Von Drunker, Chris and Clinton Stewart. And my Auburn football hope meter is going up again. Earl Ricks, Phil Amthor, now giving Van and John a break from the no sound clip since the dismal years are over. I hope so too, Phil. Thank you. Richard Stevens, Steve Trawick, Ann Pridgeon, Shane Bailey, Susan Trawick, Willie Carden, Matt Flowers, and then play it again. Van said, where did it go?
My head hurts, my feet stink, and I don't love cheese.
Hello,
That kind of morning, really was that kind of day.
All right. Gary Grant, a.k.a. AU fan at KSC, William Morgan, Bradley Blackman, Eric Morgan, Michael Kirshner. If Carol Shelby could see Alabama and Georgia fans right now, he would say.
I don't speak Italian, but he ain't happy.
Oh, that's for sure. Glorious. Man, I enjoyed the playoff games last past weekend. Those were some really good games. And by the way, I meant to mention, did you see SEC shorts?
Yes, the Daniel Moore painting.
It was wall-to-wall Alabama ridicule, and I was there for every moment of it. It was
beautiful.
So good. Yeah.
Art.
They changed. They said they wanted Alabama in the end zone, so they showed Alabama tackling the Indiana receiver as he scored a touchdown in the end zone. And they're like, well, make it that there's a reason he's falling down. They put banana peels under his feet and mud and all that. It was just so good. It was so good. Great job by those guys. David W.E. Sammons, Esquire, Harry Zager. We got G Money, Rich Reimer, Steve Harlan, Wes Atkinson, Auburn Bull Tigers. That is what we are now. I've seen some fun logos. A few more patrons, then back to the authorities. Catherine England, no one fights like Gaston. I'm not going to be doing much singing tonight, guys. In fact, I'm struggling to get through this. War Eagle always, Jacob and Robin Fleming, Mickey B. You can tell my voice is starting to give out. Winston, oh great, and I start teaching on Monday, so back to the grind. Washed up fantasy F1 team principal. Oh, he was our defending champion. Now he's washed up. You're not washed up. Max Verstappen's not washed up, and neither are you. Brandon Smith, Daniel Odom, 2008-09 Taliban Wrangler World Champion, H-Town Danny, WDE Richie, Chris Hilton, Ben Bloodworth, Bob W.D. Salmons, Auburn University Debate Team 74-75, and current Sleazy Shyster. Algo Rhythm and Blues, Rusty Owens, goodbye, you. And then we have Luther and Kelly Ottaway. What do you call a shoe made of banana? Speaking of, a slipper. I guess the Alabama players were wearing slippers. Todd Robinson, a.k.a. undisputed 2012 doubles badminton intramural champion. Woody the Jag, official 2024 Bowl Mania champion. Chad McDowell, Auburn football's Elvis, Wade Ward, Reynolds Wolf, Philip Martin, Jeff Hunter. A great day, comrades, because, it's covered up.
We sail into history.
Oh, yeah. Timothy, Russell Milling, Randall Walker, David Simpson, Josh Teal, Tony Perry, Rob Morgan. Patrick Williams says the AU Wishbone is simply,
whether you like it or not, learn to love it, because it's the best thing going today. Woo!
I wasn't going to do that. Shannon, not tonight. Shannon Butson, Construction Tiger, Papa Todd, Cato, the SEC Pick'em champion. Is he predicting ahead, or is he just kind of looking at where it is now? Stephen Houston, Kevin Mahan, Blake Heron, Sarah Hines, Sasquatch, 7-time North America hide and seek champ will play OT for the right NIL money since we have plenty available now. Amen to that. Tim Pittman, our own dear beloved third banana, Boris the Tiger. What? Charles Mooney, I found a cure for kleptomania, but you have to take a pill for it. I don't get it. David D, Auburn Blue, Dr. Crackham, Bill Weathers, Eternal Glory, Walt.
I think you have to take a pill for it.
I missed the action verb, didn't I? Okay. Thank you. Walt is ready for actual offensive game plans because we all know the average Ruski don't take a dump, son, without a plan. Antoine Morris, ABB, Wiggiber, 2005 Auburn University Intramural Horseshoes champion. Tyler Ward, the 2025 War Ready Bracket champion. Mark Squire, cue the anthem, boys. You know who's number one. Well, that would be... No.
Not doing it.
Auburn, number one.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I'm hurting, but I love it. Alex Wynn, Kenneth Brent Raines, the barbecue.
You have failed me for the last time.
A.K.A. Auburn Dead for Life. John Stubbs, Clay Henson, Justin Bean, James Taylor, and finally, Ruth and Darren Sutherland, Stephen Thompson, Ben Amos, Spanky. What is the difference between Iron Man and Aluminum Man? Iron Man stops bad guys. Aluminum Man just foils their plan. Kind of like a baked potato does. Chris Como, Darren Pyle, Theodore Carey, David Smiley, Trevor Johnson, Royce Alvarez, college equestrian expert Auburn Elvis, AU Falling Up, John Atsuki, Paul Bankson, MVP, the captivating Kathy Bright.
Your love of the halfling's leaf has clearly slowed your mind.
Ben Regas, Bobby Polite, Elizabeth Donald, I'll buy this for $1, Rich Hammett, Chris Braun, Alex Brown, Siberian Tiger, the Slinko family. Boris is a Siberian Tiger, by the way. Daniel Witten, Tim Saul, Jim McCrory. I will lick the toes of you. I will not lick the toes of Hugh. I do not like the toes of woe. I am Tiger. I'm not a hoe. New York Tiger knows Santa does not pay to park his sleigh. He's always on the house. Steve Bailey, CT Tiger, Jim Myers, Trey Jackson, Howard Frantz, Peter Wang, Willie Moe, Zach Doran, and Chris, plus our one-time and anonymous donors. Seriously, y'all, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. You keep the show commercial free. Pay for all this StreamYard nonsense that we're using now to get on YouTube, which is not cheap. Thank you. Go to www.auwishbone.com. And now the segment has returned.
Hello, Van John, the rest of the AU Wishbone family. This is Jared Albrecht, the art sale artist, here with Guess the Game number 162. Guess the Game 162 is brought to you by Nicholas Cottrell. Let's take a listen to what Nicholas sent in.
To the far side, or the short side of the field, right to this side. It's in the slot to the left. He's going to throw. He's got open at midfield. 45, 40. Soon a foot race at the 30, the 25, the 20. Stumbles, tripped up, falls to the ground at the 10-yard line. Somebody grabbed him by a shoestring from behind. It was the All-American linebacker, and he rambled 60 yards to the 10-yard line.
All right, guys, I will see you in the hint file where we will get rid of the bleeps.
All right, the announcer was.
That sounded like Jim Fife to me.
So the time frame is
somewhere between the 80s up to 2000 through 2002, I believe.
And that was an Auburn pass play that resulted in a long gain, but the guy didn't score. He got tackled.
Was it a pass play? I wasn't sure. It was?
I thought so.
Okay. Because the first play it made me think of was Trey Smith in the Iron Bowl in 2002. Remember when Alabama said the midgets running all over us?
Yeah.
And he got maybe caught from behind by one of their Alabama's really good linebackers, but I may be mixing some things up. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Did McCants catch somebody like that on like the 86 team, like Lawyer Tillman or Trey Gaines or somebody maybe?
Yeah, that's possible.
That could be. It could be several things. I'm not really sure. You want to go to the help file?
Let's do. We need it.
Yeah, I think we need it this time. Here we go.
Welcome back to the hint file. Let's get rid of those bleeps.
Wasden to the far side, or the short side of the field, right to this side. Taylor's in the slot to the left. Here's Slack. He's going to throw. He's got Wasden open at midfield. 45, 40. Wasden's in the foot race at the 30, the 25, the 20. Stumbles, tripped up, falls to the ground at the Alabama 10-yard line. Somebody grabbed him by a shoestring from behind. It was Keith McCants, the All-American linebacker, and he rambled 60 yards to the Alabama 10-yard line.
Okay, I'll see you in the answer file.
All right. So quarterback was
Reggie Slack
to Wasden, tackled by Keith McCants, equals what year?
All right. McCants played on the 86 team for Alabama, I know. So the latest, and I didn't think he was a freshman that year, but maybe he was. He was so good. So he could have still been as late as 89. McCants could have been 89.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where
Slack wasn't the starter.
88 and 89.
88, 89 is what
88, 89. Slack, yeah. And but Greg Taylor comes in later, so 89 may have been his first year. See, there's a lot of cross-referencing going on here, and it's helping to triangulate. I mean, I feel like this is the 89 first time ever Iron Bowl.
Well,
I think I'd remember that place.
We just wrote a book about it. So
I know. I watched that entire game play by play like 100 times, but that was 3 years ago. So I can't. I feel like I just feel like with all the evidence, it's an Alabama game.
Well, we didn't win. Did we win in 88? Yes.
Yeah. We won. It was a lot closer. We won 87. We won in 86, 87, 88.
No, but I was just thinking of like it's either 88 or 89.
Okay. But we won both years.
Yeah.
It could be 88 because I just don't remember. But see, was it who was it? Shane Wasden?
Yes.
He caught the pass against Florida in 89 that won the game.
Let's go 89 then.
I'm torn. I don't remember Wasden making a big run down to the 10-yard line in 89, but maybe I'm just blanking on it. You want to go 89?
Sure.
89, we're going.
All right. I am supremely confident that both Van and John have put together that this is the 1989 Iron Bowl.
Yes.
Seems like an important one to me. I want to thank Nicholas Cottrell for sending that in. If you'd like to be like Nicholas and send in a play for Guess the Game, I can be reached at lots of different places. I am at Yard Sale Artist on X, Facebook, and Instagram, or you can email me at Jared, that's JARROD, at theyardsaleartist.com. Until next time, Van, John, Wrigley.
I just want to go on record as thanking John publicly here for not letting me talk myself out of the correct answer, because I very nearly talked myself out of the correct answer there.
There was never a doubt.
All right, we are 3-0. We're 3-0, baby.
Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Nicholas. That was fun.
Yeah, that was a very.
I love the reverse psychology of picking the 89 game because we're like, was it?
I know, because I studied that game in such intense detail because I wrote the little play-by-play thing that we did, and I'm like, I don't remember that play. I forget that play. Something dramatic must have happened right after that, because I don't know. I think I'm going to go I have to go reread our book after this show and figure out what I missed exactly. But in the meantime, Coming up, we have listener questions and around the playoffs. But first, it's our weekly look. Brought to you by title sponsor Samuel Salvatore at the knuckleheads, dimwits, and ne'er-do-wells who quickly constitute this week's worst coaches in the world. I got it in again, John. And this week, Samuel submits the following to us. Kalen DeBoer, didn't see that coming, embarrassed the SEC and Alabama. Does he know Ryan Williams is on his roster, or is he a ghost? The fourth down gamble finally bit you. That's a good point. He did that to us, and it didn't bite him, but it did this time. Team totally quit on you before the fourth quarter. Oh, I remember them just watching players scoring in front of them, barely lifting a finger to stop them. Back-to-back seasons with 4 losses, which doesn't bode well for the fan base you're dealing with. That's a great insight. And finally, is Michigan still open, or are all escape routes closed? Oops. John, do you have any additions you want to throw in there, or are we good with that? Samuel laid it out.
I mean,
Kirby?
I think it's the worst loss in Alabama in like 50 years.
So good.
So I think that, I think, you know,
Please clap.
How much better would it have been if they had lost last week and they didn't advance to play Indiana and then this?
I don't know. It's like, if they have a coach that can't win a lot, do we want him to get fired just because it would be funny, or do we want him to keep him? I mean, maybe they could hire somebody better. I don't
be like just enough to keep the job, but then fall flat on his face and they're embarrassed and stuff in a way they haven't been. That's I like that.
I'm there for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm there. All right, Kalen DeBoer, as laid out by our great title sponsor Samuel Salvatore, you are this week's AU Wishbone worst coach in the world.
Thank you. Order. Questions to the Prime Minister.
It's time for listener questions. Dun, 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 on the AU Wishbone podcast.
And I got to say, the young lady that introduces this segment every week and has for the last decade or so is getting ready to go off to college and was today in the paper as being an Illinois State Scholar. Woo, yeah.
Salute to Mira. Great job.
Great job. She came down and showed me how to do some math stuff on my actual day job. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. And she's like, all right. She brings her calculator and a notepad down and is showing me how to do this math thing. I'm just sitting there going, I remember when you and your monkey were like, throwing stuff around the house, and now you're down here teaching me math. So we've come a long way together, John. All of us.
All of us together.
All of us.
All right. Our first email is from Steven Sorrell, and the subject line is soundboard update. He says, I would like to cast a vote to add inconceivable from The Princess Bride in honor of Rob Reiner and in response to Deuce Knight's departure.
I'm going to write that one down. I like it. Inconceivable. I get it.
All right. Our next email is from a friend of the podcast, Walt Austin. And the subject line is Camden Brown. He says, hey, guys, just want to make sure Auburn folks were aware of what kind of year Camden Brown had after his transfer to Georgia Southern. I know Van mentioned he had a few touchdowns, but it was a bit more than that. As of right now, after Indiana's quarterfinal game, he still currently leads all of FBS with 14 touchdown catches on the year.
Whoa.
He became Georgia Southern's first ever 1,000-yard receiver. It wasn't just against Sunbelt competition either. He had some great contested key touchdown catches against Southern Cal too. It seemed when he was at Auburn, he sometimes struggled to help make simple catches, but this year at Georgia Southern, he was almost a guaranteed catch if the ball was thrown at him. Sadly, he didn't get a touchdown in Georgia Southern's bowl game, or probably won't in the year as the FBS leader in touchdown receptions, with Indiana potentially having 2 more games as they have a receiver 1 TD behind him. But he did finish the year as an honorable mention All-American, according to Phil Steele's list. I was very happy to see him succeed, but even happier he did it for my second school. Yours truly, Walt.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I think the article I read didn't mention that, but that's really cool. I wish, where was that when we had him, though? We could have used that, I guess.
No, but for some players, they need to go somewhere else, and it's a maturity thing for them, and it's a different place, learn different things, different habits kind of thing. And we've seen that before. Yeah. And I'm happy for him. That's great. But I didn't realize this. I knew he was doing well, but that's really good.
Yeah, that is.
All right. Next email is from Reed Kimball, who says the subject line is airing of the grievances. He said, what John said, ditto. Also, add people who drive slow in the left lane. Keep up the good work, Van and John. The Ohio Reedster.
Do yourself no injury. Other men are always good for that.
There you go.
All right. Our next email is from frequent emailer Bill Miner, whose the subject line is former player coaches at Auburn. Hey guys, not sure of the ins and outs, but I think we'd agree it'd be cool that former wide receiver Jarris McIntyre is in the staff in some capacity, and we know Cody's been here before. Of the ones we've had, say, since Bowden was a coach, which former Auburn player did you like the most as an assistant coach for us? To follow up, which former Auburn player would you most love to see become a coach at Auburn that hasn't? Could be either an active coach not here or one that hasn't been. Do you think would be good?
I think Tracy Rocker was a great defensive line coach in 2010.
That was the first name that came to my mind.
Yeah, he was good. Of the ones that haven't been,
Stacey Searles was really good.
No, I was just thinking. I'm surprised that our center remember our All-American center under Gus?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like, I'll put it this way. It seems like, and I've heard people talk about this on like radio sports talk shows a lot, that offensive linemen seem like disproportionately end up being coaches, because you have to be, everybody thinks the offensive linemen are just like these big dudes, regardless of intelligence. They just like, their job is to be big, but they're usually big, smart guys. They really are. And centers in particular are big, smart guys, because they have to be like the quarterback of the line. And so a lot of centers end up being coaches. And so I'm kind of surprised that maybe he is at other places, but you remember our center who did the famous butt snap to Nick Marshall against Texas A&M. I can't think of his name now, but I'm surprised that he hasn't. Maybe he is. I don't know. So there's I just think of linemen first. You don't get a ton of like, compared to other, like, defensive backs tend to become defensive back coaches. It seems like receivers tend to become receiver coaches, but offensive linemen tend to coach everything. It seems like that's why
that's a good one. And coaches that, former players who are coaches who are not coaching at Auburn now that I'd love to see come back in the playoffs. You've seen our former player from Miami doing well, Keontae Scott.
Yes.
Do you know who his position coach is?
No.
Zach Etheridge.
Oh, wow.
When remember there wasn't enough spots, and Zach Etheridge kind of was forced out at Auburn a year or two ago, and he went to Miami, and then when Keontae Scott transferred, he went to be with his old coach, and Zach Etheridge is doing some good work with that team. So, and then
Zach was a great guy. Zach was on the 2010 team, wasn't he? The national championship team, I think. He was. Yeah, we quoted him in the book.
And Trevon Reed is the cornerbacks coach at Southern Cal. He's doing a good job too. I'd love to see him come back one day. So Trevon was always fun to have around. He was a very kind of a life of the party guy. Good. All right. What else in the mailbag? Good question. All right. And then our last question is from Dan Thompson, who says, how does the number of Auburn players that has entered the portal reflect the narrative that Cohen was promoting, that hiring freeze improved the roster as though it was a step in the right direction? Might be a bit too early, but it seems like hiring Hugh was a complete disaster. I thought John was right at the time, and I'm going to ask him for life advice from now on. Perhaps in the off season, we could get an episode of life advice from the Oracle of Virginia. Well, we're not doing that. Right about this does not equal you should listen to John about other things.
I've known John a long time, and I'll just say you could do a lot worse than taking John's advice about most things. So I'm just.
No, I appreciate it. That's very kind from you and from Dan.
And don't listen to me about anything. God help you. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me at all. Dude.
I think we've said our piece about Freeze in the roster. So, yeah. All right. That's it for listener questions.
All right. A quick trip around the SEC to wrap things up tonight. The results. So Miami beat Ohio State 24-14. It's one of those games that in hindsight, I feel like I should have felt it coming, but I bought into the hype. I bought into the Ohio State hype, but there is something to be said for momentum, for being on a hot streak. And Miami's is doing that. Miami's playing very well.
Miami is really peaking. I do think if they play that game 10 times, I think Ohio State probably wins 6 times.
Yeah, I know, but
Miami got the game situation just the way they needed it to win that game.
And Miami is now a game away, not just from playing for the national championship, but for playing for it at home, just like they thought they were doing in 1983 against Nebraska, to bring up a bad memory. Miami it's not fair that Miami gets to play home games for these games, but there you go. In the stadium where they have the Formula One race around the parking lot, and pretend like it's water and make the fake lagoon, the plastic lagoon in the infield. All right. So, but I guess I felt like we should have seen that coming, because Ohio State was on a losing streak. Miami was on a winning streak, and it just came together. Just right. Oregon just destroyed Texas Tech 23-0. I mean, was that Texas Tech being exposed, or what do you chalk that up to?
I mean, it was Texas Tech's offense being exposed. What was the halftime score of this game? 6-0.
Okay. All right. There you go.
So Texas Tech's defense was legit. They should have been on this field. I think the difference is Oregon, came out of the first game and said, we got to play, 60 minutes of complete football. And I think Texas Tech's offense was never that good. Their starting quarterback got hurt. They were playing their backup all year, who's okay, but they didn't have any other skill position guys that scared you, and their scheme didn't scare you either. And Oregon just took them apart. So
I feel like, and we're going to get to the other game in the other 2 games in just a second, but I feel like, and it just worked out this way, I feel like the real national championship game is Oregon, Indiana in the semifinal. The other 2 teams are just playing to lose to whoever wins that game. Am I crazy?
We'll see. I mean,
prepare the laughter. Indiana 38, Alabama 3.
And I say
what was that score again?
38-3.
Yeah, that's a pretty bold statement. You know what I mean? It's factual.
It is factual. It's so funny. It's just so good. It's just so good. It wasn't even close. Indiana just systematically dismantled Alabama.
They made Alabama quit.
They did. They won the line of scrimmage on both sides and just ground it out and then threw over their heads, and Alabama didn't know they didn't know who was coming and going. And at the end of the game, they just looked at Alabama and said,
well, bye.
Truth.
And then Alabama fell into the.
Yeah,
and
looking for it to get out of that stadium.
They took the Robotron portal real fast. And I look at Alabama and I just say,
you're an idiot, and there's probably something wrong with your character as well. You're not just misguided, but you're probably sort of evil.
Yes.
Or
yes.
at least so ignorant that you are effectively evil.
This is my favorite quote of all time. It's so good. That quote just makes me happy. It just always makes me happy when I apply it to Alabama, as one does. What makes Indiana so good, John?
I mean, there's 3 parts of college football, right? It's talent acquisition.
Okay.
That's the part that Hugh Freeze spent all the energy on. Talent development, taking the players you have and making them better, and then talent deployment. So then coaching them on the field. The last two we have not done well at Auburn. Indiana is great at all three. The players who go there get better. Mendoza is clearly much better than he was a year ago when we played him in Cal. He's a way better player, but they play smart football. They're number one in the country in third down conversion because they get 4 or 5 yards on first and second down every time. They don't try to get 50 yards, but they get enough yards, so it's always 3rd and 2. They're number one in turnover margin because they don't turn the ball over, and they're 3rd in the country in fewest penalties committed because they play smart and they don't do stupid things. So they don't beat themselves. They don't ever have negative plays that set them back, and they have short third downs to convert. And then they're really good on the line of scrimmage. They have a bunch of, guys that weren't 5 stars that they turned into really good players, that are very effective on the line of scrimmage. They brought over, here's the parallel time, like 13 guys from James Madison to Indiana when Cignetti got there, and they helped show the rest of those players what this coaching staff wanted.
And that's what we're hoping South Florida is going to do. Yeah. If you ask me, if you didn't tell me Indiana this year and you just described the team you just described to me, I would say that sounds like to me the recipe for a team that will go 10-2 and almost always reliably beat the teams it should beat, but will come up short a couple of times a year against a team that is more talented than them, that happens to get all their ducks in order that week. In other words, like a Miami in the old days or something, that one week they might get 8,000 yards in penalties and lose to Citadel, you know what I mean? But the next week they just don't happen to commit all those penalties and they'll beat you 55-0. That kind of team tends to have good luck against a team like Indiana. But so far, they've avoided that.
Agree. I think the difference is Indiana's upgraded at a couple spots, and they're better. A year ago, that was Indiana, right? And the Ohio States of the world, the Oregons of the world did it to them.
Bingo.
This year, Indiana's upgraded a couple spots, especially quarterback. They got the freaking Heisman Trophy winner and a guy that's going to be a top pick in the NFL draft playing quarterback for them. And so they beat that Oregon team already in Oregon. They beat them in Eugene. They beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. And that's why I felt so confident they were going to beat Alabama, because that Ohio State team is exactly like Alabama, except they're better. And Indiana already beat them. So it wasn't going to be as hard for them to beat Alabama. So that's what I think about
Indiana. All right. And then lastly, and just the most entertaining game of the whole week or weekend or whatever it was, Ole Miss beat Georgia 39-34. I'm going to put it this way. Because people are asking me, well, you rooting for Ole Miss? I'm like, it's not that I like Ole Miss. I have plenty of reasons over the years to very much dislike Ole Miss. They've done a lot of things that tick me off over the years. They've just never been a big enough threat for me to consistently dislike them. You know what I mean? It's like they're like, when they come on my radar at all, it's usually for a reason for me to not like them. But then they just fall right back off the radar and I don't care about them. Then they come back on my radar again because they did something I don't like. Then they fall off the radar for 3 or 4 years. So I wasn't particularly mad at them this time. And again, they had going for them. They were kind of the sympathetic underdog favorite because of the whole Lane Kiffin thing. So as much as you disliked Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin, this was kind of the zombie Ole Miss where the brain had left and this was just the body shambling along without the brain. And yet, some people were arguing this is a game that Ole Miss under Lane would not have won. Maybe not.
Yeah. But they played a great game. That was, as you're saying, a really fun game, back and forth. The ending was insane. And I think Kirby Smart made a couple of great decisions in this game, but also I think his decision-making at the end of the game was not smart.
And then also, did you feel like me? Every time Georgia took the lead, I kept thinking, okay, there it is. Now Georgia's got the upper hand. They're going to put the hammer down. And yet, shockingly to me, Every time Georgia took the lead, Ole Miss came back and found a way to scratch and claw and get back. I thought because Ole Miss, I think, started out ahead.
Yeah.
And I thought the only way Ole Miss wins this game is if they just run out to a big lead and just hold on, because Georgia's coming, right? This has been a second half Georgia team anyway. But even still, a team like Georgia tends to kind of catch up to you late. They've done it to us 3 years in a row.
And they did it to Ole Miss in the regular season. Georgia scored the last 17 points in that game.
Exactly. So I kept thinking Ole Miss needs to get out to a big enough lead that they can hold on. And so as soon as Georgia took the lead the first time, I'm like, that's it. And then I flipped the channel or something. I came back. I'm like, oh. And at that point, I was locked in. I was paying attention because I'm like, if this Ole Miss team can give up the lead and then retake it, we might have something going on here. And it turned out we did.
The one thing I want to say about all four of these games together, the one theme that was systematic through all these games was they were very physical and violent, and there was great line play on the offensive and defensive lines, and it just showed the importance of those positions in every single one of these games. The teams that was better on the line of scrimmage won the game. Everyone.
And that's why it's so important. We can cry and gnash our teeth about losing our great receivers, but we've got to get better on the lines. We've just got to. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. And it's not going to be overnight.
No.
It's not going to happen overnight. It takes time to build up, especially in offensive. You could bring in a handful of defensive linemen and be okay. The offensive line, though, has to, as they always say, it has to gel. And it also tends to work better when they come in early and have been together several years.
Yes.
So we just got to have patience. Now, unless the coach is doing something demonstrably harmful that's dragging the team down, like the last two coaches did, but hopefully this one won't, and we'll give him the time. So, all right, coming up Thursday, January 8th at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30. All these games are at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central. Miami versus Ole Miss, and I'm like, I want to pick Miami there because they really are on a roll, but it's hard to pick against this Ole Miss team the way they're playing right now, and the fact they just beat Georgia.
Trinidad Chambliss really showed me something in that Georgia game. He's more accurate and a better player than I thought he was. What he did in that
I think
game.
he's gotten better over the course of the season.
Yeah, but he played at another level in that game. But Miami's defensive line is really great, and I think they're going to cause Ole Miss some real problems.
Yeah, that's like the Miamis of old that had a really good defense. Russell Maryland and those guys, it would just destroy you on the front line. Yeah. All right, and then that's going to be a fun game, though. And then, in fact, I think that again, though, I think the final is going to be something of a mismatch because I do think the Oregon-Indiana winner is going to win it all. But I think that in terms of giving us two very competitive games, that's what we've got.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've got welterweights, Miami and Ole Miss, and we've got heavyweights, Oregon and Indiana. And that gives us two games that'll be good close matchups, and then we'll get maybe a less than stellar final. Kind of like the way the SEC championship game used to be, where you get to the East would always beat the West, and then the West would always beat the East. Or the Super Bowl was that way for a long time too. Mm-hmm. All right, so Friday the 9th at the same time, Oregon, Indiana. I mean, this was a close game in Oregon, but Indiana did win. Can Indiana win twice?
Yes. I think Indiana can do it.
So it feels like Miami, Indiana is what we're kind of looking for in the final.
I think so.
But it's going to be. It could go either way. This is two games I think could go either way, and that's cool. In some other less consequential bowl results, Wake Forest with Robbie Ashford beat Mississippi State 43-29. Did not see Mississippi State getting in a bowl game this year. Iowa beat Vanderbilt 34-27. I didn't get to watch this game. I was out of the house. Did Vanderbilt just not play well? Were they missing some of their players? How did Vanderbilt, after all their talk about national championships, lose to freaking Iowa?
A, Iowa is good. B, Vanderbilt was a little overrated. Theme here, Alabama Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, A&M, overrated.
Yeah.
And I think Iowa is a tough at the line of scrimmage team, and I think they caused Vanderbilt all kinds of problems.
And then Texas beat Michigan in a pretty close back and forth game, 41-27. And I believe that was the one of those was the the Pop-Tarts Bowl, or we already covered the Pop-Tarts Bowl, I guess. Yeah, this was the Texas Michigan was a bigger bowl, but I can't remember which
that
one.
was the Citrus Bowl.
Citrus Bowl, yeah. All right, and then finally, the one that made folks at my house really happy, Illinois held on and beat Tennessee 30-28 in another really good game. Did you get to see any of this game?
Oh yeah.
Illinois with Burt as their coach is just kind of a grinded out ball control, not looking for a big play. They just want to get first downs, keep they want to suck the life out of the game and grind it out. I went to the Illinois-Maryland game, my first Big Ten game ever in person, and it was the most unfun. It was the least fun thing you ever watched. I was happy to be there, and Mira had a good time, and we won and everything, but man, that was a god-awful slog of a game. Maryland was just incompetent, and Illinois just said, okay, we'll just run 3 yards in a cloud of dust every play and never let you on the field. And they did. So, and that's the kind of game Burt loves, lean on the offensive line and just kind of grind you down. So
2 years in a row, Burt took out an SEC team.
Well, Tennessee scored, but they scored on like a kick return too early, and they gave Illinois 5 minutes. And Illinois went down and I think kicked a field goal, right, and won the game at the end. So, we didn't even talk about one last thing. In the Ole Miss Georgia game, you'd think Les Miles was running the game clock at the end. This is a game where they had to move the stage off the field like 3 times. Looked like the end of the famous Outback Bowl with us in Northwestern, where you kept thinking the game was over. And they're like, no. And we've done some people on Twitter and I did some in-depth study of this, and it turns out that, like the Zapruder film, we found where the problem. Well, one of the problem was there that Ole Miss scored the field goal and then kicked off, and Georgia tried a lateral, and it went through, it hit the pylon for a safety, and then they had to do a free kick, and they did an onside free kick, which nobody really knew was a thing until we saw that happen and found out it was. And then Georgia got the ball back and got to run one last play, all with 1 second on the clock.
Yes, because, again, hitting the pylon with the second left, it stopped the clock. And then on the free kick, the Georgia player caught the ball while kneeling. So basically the game clock never moved.
None of those things, yeah. But what the problem was, though, we had to rewind just a little bit before that. And here's where the problem was, because I knew none of that, all that couldn't happen in like 8 seconds or 6 seconds. And what happened was, when Ole Miss first kicked off to Georgia after their field goal, the Georgia player caught it deep in the end zone with 6 seconds to go and ran it all the way out to the 10-yard line, turned around and threw the lateral, which went all the way across the field 50 yards and hit the pylon. All of that happened in 6 seconds. The reason why is they didn't start the clock until he was already out to like the 10-yard line.
Because they thought he was going to down it.
Right. They didn't start the clock when he caught it. And so he was able to run 10 yards out of the end zone and throw a lateral all the way across the field. And they didn't start the clock until halfway through that play.
See,
that's why the game didn't end.
But why was Ole Miss able to kick a field goal at the end of the game? Because Georgia, when they had the ball at the goal line with like a minute to go, had second and goal from the 2. Okay. They ran the ball down with the quarterback down about the 2 or 3 yard line. And on second down and third down, they called pass plays. Mike Bobo called 2 pass plays, and the clock stopped both times. If they'd have run the ball once, even just run the ball and fallen down, they'd have taken 20 or 30 seconds off the clock, and Ole Miss could not have scored. And then they kicked
Bobo is not that worried about clock management. He's not interested in clock management. He just knows the play he wants to run, and by golly, he's going to run it or pass it.
They thought they were going to fool Ole Miss, thinking Ole Miss was looking for the run and get the pass and score a touchdown or win the game, but they ended up doing neither.
Somebody said, how does Georgia do that? And I said, Mike Bobo, do you not remember when we had him and we were playing Penn State and we had like a 4th and 1
at the goal line and 4th and 1.
Yeah, with Tank Bigsby in the background, in the backfield. Unbelievable. So, all right, well, that's fun. That's John and Van's fun with clock shenanigans. That'll do it for this week. Final thoughts before we wrap up and get out of here.
The transfer portal taketh, the transfer portal giveth away.
And I got to say, I'm really looking forward to the semifinals and the finals. The playoffs were much better this year than they were last year. They corrected a few things, and I think they're only going to get better as they fine-tune them. So if you want to bellyache and complain about all of it, folks, see John and my our Festivus
airing of the grievances
from last week, and that'll solve it.
We got Auburn basketball 2 days this week and playoff games 2 other games. That's 4 days with great stuff. I'm in. Sign me up.
And then I might be driving over to Columbia to watch it in person. So can't wait. All right. Our time is up. We thank you for yours. War Eagle, John.
War Eagle, man.